Ki im es asher yomar Haggai, only that which Haggai says, that's what Esther took with her. Perush Haggai hu milashon Higgayon. Now the name Haggai is from the language of thought, of Higgayon, kamo shekasu v'hegyon libi, like it says, the thoughts of my heart, telam yutes, shu bechinas pnimius hadibur, mikor hadibur, it's the concept of the inner speech, the source of speech, shu bechinas machshava shebedibur, it's the concept of the thought within the speech. Haggai ulashon poel yotze, and Haggai means to outwardly hoge my higayon, so that affects outwards. Perushu ose hadibur, that is to say that this thought causes the speech, this inner speech goes outwards to actually speak. Uperushu bechinas hashpa mehechal kodesh kadashim, that is to say that it's a concept of flow from the palace of the Holy of Holies. Shiyishoraru v'idabru hamalachim v'hayechalos, that should sing and speak the angels and the palaces of Shazeh Ose Haggai, that this is the concept affects the thought to come out, like a concept of Haggai, Shumikora Dibur, which is the source of speech, Pnimius Adibur, the inner concept of speech, Shupol Yotze, which is in action outwards, Sheose Shidabru Vishuraru Amalachim Veichalos, that it causes, that should speak and sing the angels and the palaces. And this is through its flow onto them, like we said, that this is the Mekor HaDibur that comes out to make the Malachim sing. And this is why Haggai is also from the language that who travels from the path. Shmuel Beis Min Kaf. That is when it is drawn out and comes out of the hidden state of thought, to become the source of speech and so forth. So it travels down the path. It's Hoga Mina Mesila. V'kach b'chinas Haggai, and so to the concept of Haggai, Hushanim Shach Lihiyos Mekor Ledibor, is that it's brought out to become a source of speech. V'zehu Shekol Haya Biad Haggai, Shinekre Shomer Anashim, and that's why everything was in the hand of Haggai. That's called the guardian of the women, the guard of the women, because she's the Mekor of the Hashpa. And also gives these, you also have this concept of the 7 maidens that are fitting to give her. Shem Zayin Hechalos, that are the 7 palaces that we said. Haggai was the concept of the Hechal Kodesh Kadashim, which is the highest and the source for the others. That the gift the Haggai is the one then that can give these other palaces downwards because they're mislabish one in another. That the sign Echalosh Nizkar B'Zohar him Hakol Biad Haggai, they're all in the hands of Haggai. Shunos and Tamru Kehen, that she gives the anointments of the women. Perush Mimenu Hu Amshachos Mein Dichurin, that is to say that from the concept of Haggai is to draw down the masculine waters, that should sing and speak all the palaces and the angels and so forth. And the intention is even Esther needed this concept that you need to have from him the drawing out of the masculine waters, to awaken the song and the speech. In the previous paragraph, we said that Esther was like the concept of the bittul of the neshamos atzilus that are still on the level of elokus, like Rabbi Chia Rabba or Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa and Anshi Maisa, that they didn't need the malachim to go upwards like Mechol kind of Rabbah that's Makriv Neshamos, but over here we're saying that the concept of Hegai, the Mekor HaDibor that gives to the Malachim, Esther also needed this, Rakshelo Haisat Tzricha L'Siyua Malachim, only that Esther did not need the help from the Malachim Kana, like we said. Ubiyat ha'inyan, and the explanation of this matter, hinim avor de Hegai, yishpo beis pirushim, has two explanations, ha'alef lashon higayon, hegyon libi, the first one is a language of the thoughts of my heart, ukamo v'lib chayeh ge'ema, Yeshaya Siman Lamed Gimel, unlike the pasuk that your heart will speak to you fear. In Yeshaya, da Perish Bezor Vayishlach, Tav Kuf Samech Tes Aleph, that explains in Zor Vayishlach, Vegyon Libi, that the thoughts of my heart, Hilein Milin Stimin, La Yachal Banash Lefar Shalom Bipumei, that these are hidden words that a person cannot express them with his mouth. That's the concept of the thoughts that are in the heart and so forth. Ein Shem, look over there. Nimsa, so it's found, the Hegyon, that this is not a concept of actual speech, outwards, but rather like the thought and the intention of the heart. And the second meaning of Hegyon, Miloshan Kasher Hoga Mina Masila Hanal, which is the concept of traveling down the path, like we said, Shuloshan Asara, which is actually like a language of to go off the path, to remove from the path, Shanimshach Vuhusa Mina Masila, that it's drawn and taken away from the path, and to exit the path and come and be revealed. Like the concept of to remove and take out the blemishes, the dregs from the silver. So Hoga Mina Masila means you're no longer traveling on the path, but you come out of it. And both of these explanations are true here with this concept of Hegai. It's revelation, as well as a concept of the source, the hidden source of speech. Now, because there's two concepts, there's two concepts of thought. Ha'alef machshava ilah, the first is the concept of supernal thought, like when a person thinks some kind of intellect on its own, thinking about the intellect, that these letters of thought are attached, tied to the intellect, and they're not felt as something on their own. Only is the intellect is felt, and the letters are secondary, subservient to it. And that's the higher. So the first is the higher machshava, and the second level of machshava is the lower machshava. That is that you think and in your mind go over how to speak. So it's not about the idea, it's about what you're going to actually say. And this is thought of speech. And it's the source of speech. And its inner concept. And on this lower level, that's where Hegai means as you come out of, you go off the path, that is that you're drawn out and come out of the concept of the supernal thought, to be a concept of lower thought, which is the actual source of speech. So the Masila, I guess, is the concept of the inner thought about the intellect, and when you go out of that path, it's when you comes out to be a source of speech itself. And like there's an opinion that thought is actually like speech and so forth, and the difference between the hiro that's lav kedibur and is kedibur is like the difference between the machshava that's only about the seichel and the machshava that's like the dibur, that's the source for the dibur. And that's why it's also from the language of the thoughts of my heart, because it's nonetheless not a concept of actual speech itself. but still thought of the heart. V'hine noda, now it's known, Shamalachim nimshachim midvar havaya, that the angels are come from Hashem's speech, K'dichsiv u'bruach piv kol tzva'am, like it says, that in the spirit of his mouth are all their hosts. U'lechein Esther lo haisa tzricha l'siyua mibechina zu, and that's why Esther did not need a help from this level, from the lower concept of higayon, the concept of, as it is a source of speech, because she herself is a chariot to the concept of malchus, shuhu atzmu dvar Hashem, that malchus itself is the concept of Hashem, that malchus itself is the word of Hashem. Ve'ech titztarech siyu al bechinas hamalachim hamishavi mi bechinas hadibur chulu, and how then would she need help from the concept of the angels that are created from the concept of speech? If she is above them, she is the concept of speech. The Mekora Dibur. But nonetheless, im kolze tzrich l'siyua mi bechinas hegai, she still needs the concept of hegai. Which is the drawing down from the concept of the thought, either as it is mikor hadibur or even higher. We know that the Israel alu b'machshava, and it's known that Israel came up into thought. That is that they came. What does it mean? They came up in thought. That their sources. They came up into supernal thought, the higher machshava, the machshava seichel. And this is like the neshama is a concept of not and pure before the concept of you have created it, that it exists on a level of as it is in Atzilus of ayin and tohar. But the concept of the neshama as you created it is through speech below malchus, below this concept of hegai. And that's why it's drawn to her, to the neshama, help from its source, from the concept of the supernal thought, through this concept of hegai, which is like when this supernal thought comes out and goes off the path of the supernal machshava, as it is that it goes downwards to the second level of machshava, as it's drawn from the lower level of thought, as it is the source of speech, and gives life to the speech and so forth, to the neshama as it exists in the world of bria. So on that level, the neshama needs to be elevated by the malachim. And it's also known that there's two concepts, parts of achitzon and nikra dibur. You have the external the parts of that's called speech, parts of apnimi shubechinas machshava shebedibur hirhur chulu, and then you have the inner parts of, which is the concept of thought, the thought of speech, the hirhur and so forth. Like it's brought in the explained in the Mamer of the Zohar, like a rose amongst the thorns, so too is my loved one. Like we brought before, that you have two concepts of Shoshana. You have Shoshana Bira, then you have Chatzar Besan in Shoshana Bira. The Shoshana Samakim and Shoshana Bina Chochim. So you have the Malchus as it descends, and Malchus as it is above, I guess. And therefore Esther, as she exists in the world of Bria, and clothed in the world of Bria, she needs this help from the concept of Hegai, which is the concept of thought and the inner concept of speech and so forth. To be elevated, even if she doesn't need the help of the malachim themselves. Look also what's brought on the verse, like the eagle that awakens its young and so forth, which I guess is also some kind of hisodorus of a makor. The nesher in general is a concept of keser. Ha'inyan And so the concept is Yechezkel ra hamerkava begalus chulu. Yechezkel saw the chariot, the supernal chariot, in exile. That's why he saw the malachim. She'az mekablim nishamas Yisrael avav yira al yidei hamalachim. That's when the souls of Israel receive their love and fear through the angels. The face of the lion and so forth. Like it says that he will command his angels. And they will lift you up in their palms and so forth. So it's a concept of the elevation of the neshamos through the malachim. They, so to speak, carrying up the neshamos upwards. Aval bizman matan Torah panim bepanim, but in the times of the giving of the Torah face to face, dibar Hashem panim bepanim dibar Hashem. Hashem spoke to us face to face. V'chein bizman beis hamikdash, and so too in the time of the temple. They were receiving the revelation of the Shekhinah, not through the middleman of the Malachim at all, and so forth, not through that hashpa, but more directly. And so I guess in that case, Esther was more like the concept of beyond the Golus. Perhaps that's why the Geula came through her, that she did not receive through the Malachim. And with this we can also understand further that concept before, that the souls need a help from the Malachim because of the concept of Golus. And then you have these higher neshamos that don't need them, like in the time of the temple. That was more like panim bepanim. We did not receive our nira through the malachim. And I wonder if the Merkava of Yeshaya, so seemingly he's like a Ben Krach, so that's l'chora like the world of Bria or Yetzira, or Atzilus. That we said that Yom Tov Rishon is like Atzilus and Bria. And like the first place of Mikdash, find Mashakaz b'dibur maschil, v'ayei kabakar yochal teven, and look what's brought on the Mamer, that the lion, like the cattle, will eat grain and will not eat the other animals. That they'll have an extra state of bittul, and it's bechol har kodshi. It's like the concept of lasi lavo.